Well, hey there. Welcome to another episode of Bill Selak Talks. My name is Bill Selak. This is me talking. So I was talking with someone. I'm talking to you now, but I was talking to John Eick, and he was talking about listening to Brene Brown talking. So we're we're going to start off with a little game of telephone. All right? How does that sound? That sounds good. Brene Brown, the way John describes it, the way I remember it, so we're like 3 people removed from the actual story. But I think that makes this more interesting. Part of her job is to create things, to be a creative human, right? And what she needs to do for her to be creative is walk 3 to 5 miles a day, and the way I remember it, swim 3 times a week. And if she swims 3 times a week and walks 5 miles a day, she's able to actually get to the point where she can create and be creative, create content, new ideas, make connections between things, all the things that you love about Brene Brown, assuming that you love Brene Brown, as I think all of us, at least all of us listening here, do. And that got me thinking that actually what you need to do to be creative in your work isn't like an extra thing, isn't like a thing you should feel guilty about, isn't a thing that is a nice to have. The way I remember John describing the way she described it, and I think there's actually some value in that, is like having a friend distill it and share their recollection, and then me sharing my recollection with you, is that it's a must-have. That her swimming, her walking, is what she has to do or she can't do her job. And what's interesting is I have a slightly different version of that. And I got to that yesterday after a phone call, a Zoom call, a whatever call, a meeting with Aimee Giles, my leadership coach, who is an amazing, amazing human. If you are not following Aimee or don't know her, my goodness, you need to do it. She spells her name Aimee. Brilliant. We were talking about something different, but I'm putting these two things together and it's awesome, which is why I'm talking to you on the podcast. She was talking about, we went through kind of a protocol that the goal was to look at that kind of just right, that Goldilocks, right? Not too little, not too much of your prefrontal cortex. I struggle with that every single time. When I say it together, your prefrontal cortex. I even practiced it before I hit record, but we're going to just run with it. And so I knew if your prefrontal cortex, look at me, nailed it. Although maybe I didn't nail it because I just said I nailed it, but that's okay. Gets overstimulated, then it just kind of shuts down. And so I know that's kind of the fight or flight, like struggling to have that, all the stuff that part of our brain does, the part that's like, I am making decisions and I'm a rational human. But what I didn't realize talking with Aimee is you can actually have too little engagement. It's kind of a brain frog thing. A brain frog. Oh my gosh, can we call that? I love that so much more than brain fog. It's the brain frog. I think about it as like meh. Like that. Did you watch the Emoji Movie? The main character, meh. Like meh. It's kind of how I think about the brain frog. It's so great, the brain frog. You can have too little. Too much is kind of an overload. Too little, and you're not actually like in that Goldilocks zone. And so to get to that just right, I think we all need to do different things. And so talking with Aimee and then hearing John's story, like those two kind of put together, got me a thing that I need to actually jump into something creative in order to be in that just right zone for me. So I'm noticing this week, I think I talked with both of them on Tuesday and I'm recording this on a Friday. So over the last couple of days, I've noticed that, and John, thank you, John Eick, I'm going to steal this. I'm probably going to name the episode this. I need to actually create to relate. God, that's such a John Eick thing, if you know him. I need to create in order to relate. So if I'm going to send like an important email and I just kind of get stuck on it, if I'm about to go into a meeting and I want to really like be at kind of my full capacity and my full kind of creative, collaborative force, even just like kind of going through email and just whatever those tasks are. When I find myself kind of feeling kind of meh, if I take a moment and do something creative, then suddenly I'm in that just right zone. And I've noticed, even just walking from like one place to another on campus, connecting with whoever happens to be there, like so many more of our conversations have been both so much more interesting, but also what I've contributed in this just like passing each other in the hallway thing. I think have been some pretty interesting, creative, dare I say, innovative things. And it's just, I think, recognizing when you're not in that just right zone with your prefrontal cortex, and then doing something to get yourself into that. So what do I do? What do you do? Do you know what you do? Let's take a moment and think together. Awkward pause. I should play some background music. All right, time's up. So the things I do is literally just do something creative. Just now, I had a few things I needed to get through, and it's just like Friday afternoon, for sure, feeling kind of meh. So I opened up Logic Pro. They have a couple like demos of some pretty interesting stuff. And so the latest one is the song Montero, and it has like 90 tracks. And it had two versions. I opened up the spatial audio one, put the new AirPods in, and you can hear the sound like it feels like it's around your head. It feels like what's called spatial audio. So I've known that's been a thing for a while. I hear varying degrees of music that is interesting with spatial audio, but to actually dig in, mute and unmute, and just spend like 10 minutes trying to learn more about spatial audio, to think about like, am I going to do this in a song I'm working on, something for background music for a video at our school, a lesson for students, like try not to have too much of an agenda, but immediately like those are my thoughts. And after 10 minutes, I feel like I'm already in that just right zone, able to knock out a few of those tasks. And then I was like, all right, let's do this. Come on over, starting the podcast, right? Like it's been an interesting thing. And I find myself getting stuck on the feeling guilty for like not, even the way I say it right now, for like not, I don't know, not doing my job, for being off task. Like it's such a weird thing that even saying how useful it is and how the benefits are at least tenfold the time I'm putting into it, it still feels like not a waste of time, but it kind of does. It's a really, really weird thing. Like I feel the need to be productive and on task all the time. But when I find myself in that not just right zone, if I'm kind of below that, I'm finding these tricks where I can actually jump right back into it. Productivity's way, way up. Ideas, contributions, conversations are just so much greater than they would be otherwise. Super interesting. So I wonder what your thing is. If you need to go for a walk, if you need to talk to someone, if you need to like listen to a thing. But for me, it's, like work on some music, hopping on, learning JavaScript on Khan Academy is something I've been doing that kind of gets that like problem solving kind of thing, learning the new thing, right? Just kind of being in that space of like, how do I go from here to here in an interesting way? Even just stopping and taking a couple photographs of something on campus. Students doing a cool thing with devices. Hey, look, that lighting's pretty cool. And not even posting the photo, but just like partaking in creativity. And from there, my goodness, the stuff I've been doing has been really, really cool. So that's the riff for today. Thanks for listening. I'm curious if you do something to get your prefrontal cortex in kind of the just right zone. It's a new thing to me. I think it's awesome. If you've never considered it, I would encourage you to consider it. What do you need to do to get in that creative or relative zone? It's good stuff. So thanks for listening. My name is Bill Selak. I should be able to say my name. My name is Bill Selak. This has been me talking.